What is good, Counter-Strike fans? Welcome back to another episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today, we're going to be talking about PGL Cluj-Napoca 2026 Group Stage event. Apologies for no video for IME Krakow playoffs, but we are back, and I'm excited to speak about this event, the first PGL event of the season. How I left you last time with the Stage 2 video is that we decided to go with Double Spirit and Sontex and Shiro, Torshi from Mouse, Messi from Vitality, and Sobias from G2. And we got our best placement so far this year. Top 3% with 18 points going towards our spring season standings. So very happy about that. The group stage was pretty heavy on, I believe, Vitality, Donk did well, some Pius, which we picked into, and then Sofa and Kyusuke. So pretty happy about that one. And then for the playoffs, I made a post about this, and apologies on the post. I mentioned that the third place match will not be included in the finals or the scoring for this event. I thought that was the case because I didn't see grand final on here, but I guess third place matches will be included from now on. I know there were on and off about this last season as well, when they included third place matches for some events but not others. But I guess because they didn't announce it anywhere, so I just assumed they didn't. If they did, I would have definitely changed my strategy up. I would have gone double Vitality, double Spirit, because they would at least be they would at least have had two matches. Would have not gone with double G2 as the punt. Would have played more safe with double Spirit and double Vitality, but that was apologies on my end. I guess we'll take that into consideration for next playoffs. That if there is a third place match, that we will just pick into, especially if it's kind of some teams have a bye into the semifinals, we might pick into the semifinal teams. But yeah, decided to go with double G2 in hopes that they beat Mouse and then get that extra game against Vitality. They did not beat Mouse. They got absolutely dunked on by them. Sampaius might have been the worst performer in the playoffs. He was very poor. Double Spirit, who also did not make the finals, lost against Furia, but then farmed Mouse a little bit in the third place match, so that's how they got their brain back up. And then picked into Saiwu, the MVP of the event. Performed the best. I think he had a 1.61 3.0 rating for Krakow, one of the highest ever for the event if you can count Katowice as well. And if you know that rating 3.0 3.0 is very hard for operas in general to have good ratings, so it might have been a 2.0. It might have been one of the best performances alongside Donk's first IME Katowice. But thanks to the third place match, I got top 14%, and thanks to Saiwu as well, 12 points going to my spring season standings. And you can see Saiwu was the best buy for money. A couple Spirit Boys as well, with a couple Furia thrown in there. So now we can talk about our current fantasy league. 7 people have joined us. Thank you for joining. The link will be down below if you'd like to join. I guess the goal will be to have 20 in the leaderboard. If we have 20, then by midway through the season, then I might do the giveaway. I might do a small giveaway, like a Steam gift card or something, to the winner of the leaderboard. So if you're interested, make sure to join. Right now we have Donk not number one, who's a French user. I'm guessing he's a big Saiwu fan. Who's currently in first place. He only has played 3 out of the 4 games. I believe he did not play. Oh no, he did play Krakow playoffs, but I believe he might have missed the Blast event, and he's still number 1. So he's doing quite well there. So shout out to Donk, not number 1, who's currently on pole position. But enough about that. Let's talk about Cluj-Napoca. The overview for this event and for this fantasy event as well is 16 teams. 8 will qualify um, to the playoffs, and 8 will be eliminated. Swiss style system. Um, thanks thanks to HLTV, we have a little simulator here. Not gonna go over that, but wanted to go a little bit over the strategy for these type of events. So usually you can either pick into one or two things. You can pick into the team that gets 3-0, favorites to be 3-0, for example, and then you will get padding points for the extra rounds that they do not play. And usually this means that if the team did really well, for example, let's say Vitality go 3-0, Saiwu puts up a 1.5 rating, and the games that he does play, that 1.5 rating will transfer over to the uh, padding stages. So he would keep that 1.5 rating for the rest of the bench. So yeah, so I mean, you do want 3-0 teams or teams that uh, get to qualify faster, as they, if they perform really well, which they should, because if they win 3 games, they should be performing really well. They'll get those points. Or the other way you can do is you can pick into value players. For example, some of these lower rated teams, um, let's say for example someone like Foot, who their players are not high value, and if they even qualify for the playoffs or make a good run and their players pop off, like they'll be one of the best value for money players. So it's just the two different types of playing. Some people want to go with teams that will for sure qualify, and it turned out give them higher ratings in general, but they might be a little bit more pricey. While others like to pick some of the value players, and then after that, like, you know, hope that they perform, and if they qualify, then they'll for sure boost the ranking that way as well. So what would I say? So I'm gonna mention right now who I don't think will qualify at all. So I don't expect Heroic to qualify to the playoffs. They just don't look that great. They are missing an Opper. Bait as well. I don't think they'll be qualifying to the next stage. Again, they switched Hetrick for a young 16-year-old Opper who only had, well, I don't even think he even had an HLTV match, or he might have like 2 HLTV matches basically. And then now they switched that Opper for another young Opper who again doesn't have that many HLTV matches in general. So Bates kind of like changing their Opper a little bit too much. I don't think they'll qualify this time around, and I don't expect Payne either to qualify, um, as well. Their roster still has a lot of work to do, but yeah, those are the 3 teams I don't think will qualify. Some of the favorites to go 3-0, I think there's 4 favorites to go 3-0, and I will say those are Vitality, Furia, Falcons, and then Mouse. Those will be my favorites to go 3-0, or at least go 3-1 at the worst. Teams that should qualify are, for example, G2 should qualify, whether that be 3-0, 3-1, or 3-2. And I think as well, another team that should qualify, I think Aurora, it should be on there, as well as teams that should qualify. And then the rest of the team, so we have 3 final spots, and these are like the border teams that have a good chance of qualifying. I would throw Astralis in there. I would throw Paravision. Who else as well? Foot, and then Navi. I think these 4 will be fighting it out for the last 3 spots. And then teams that could upset, for example, I don't have FaZe fighting for the playoff spot. I just don't like what I saw so far this year from them, so I don't have high expectations for them. 3D Max could be a team that upsets just because it's 3D Max, and just the way they play can catch some teams off guard, and they don't really like blow teams away. They just kind of like wins games by the skin of their teeth. So they're that type of gritty team that can, pull out like a 2-2 matchup and then just beat the team 2-1. Like they could go 2-1 for multiple games and they get blown out 0-2 for their losses, for example. And I think Mongols, just because it's Mongols, they did not look great at Krakow. They went out really badly. Um, but maybe they could figure out with Kobra and their. Um, but yeah, that's just the overall general thoughts about the team. Um, if you want the teams that I think for sure will qualify is Vitality, Falcons, Mouse, and Furia, for sure. So let's take a look at the most picked players for this event. And with 40% of pick rate will be Apex, so it's pretty high up there, alongside with other Vitality players like Flamesy and Saiwu. We have Tessis with 20% from Falcons, a couple IGLs and Fallen, Hunter, and Major, and then finally rounded it out by Sway from Paravision. And now we can talk about the players in general. So starting off with Vitality, strong chance of going 3-0. If they do, they'll be some of the best value for money players. I think Saiwu's the best one in general, just because he has that high upside, high potential, with high floor as well. But I'd be a little bit careful because I don't think he performs his best in group stage. Because he's not the type of player that chases rating. He kind of just does his job really well, and kind of allows like others. For example, I think Flamesy and Apex could be two that perform really well on the group stage, because of their roles. For example, Flamesy is entry fragger, Apex as well is kind of like aggressive as well on T side, so they could farm there. So I'd be interested in those two. Either boy Robs, because he hasn't started the year really that strong at 222 is a little bit too expensive for me there, and Messi is a fine option. He does much better in playoffs, as you all know, but he's not bad if you wanted to throw one Vitality player in there. For Furia, would not pick into Fallen, would not pick into Jury. They just haven't gotten the rating so far this year and for a couple months now. And then you get left with Caserado, Malzo, and Jakinder as gold players. Do you really want to spend up on them? I'm not sure. I think the only one that I feel comfortable spending up to would be Molodoi at 227. But otherwise, yeah, Jakinder's too expensive. I'd rather go with Flamesy and then Caserado at 229. Are you really spending out 229 for Caserado when Molodoi is a little bit cheaper? Even though he didn't perform in finals, probably not. For Falcons, there's some okay value, like Mondesi at 235, not great. I'd rather spend up for Saiwu or spend down for example, for Kyosuke, who started off the year really strong. I believe he has a 1.25 over the last month against top 30 opposition. And he's been Falcons' best player. Remember that he did miss a couple games because of visa issues. But 220, he's getting all the roles from Nico that he likes, so there's no excuses for him to not perform. Nico, however, he has put up a 1.15 rating over the last month, but do take into consideration that it was without Kyosuke when he started performing a lot better, which in turn gave him his positions back. So just be careful about that. Kixen is more expensive than Tessis, which I mean makes sense because Kixen has actually been better than Tessis over multiple months now. I think for the last 3 months he has higher rating, like $6 actually, higher rating than Tessis. But I don't know, Tessis could bounce back. He did start off the year really strong, and then we faced the tough opposition, aka your top 10 teams. That's when he struggled. But when he faced anyone outside that, he was farming quite decently. For Mouse, again, this is a team that can go 3-0 because they're group state merchants. But who's going to pop off, I'm not sure. Spinks to start off the year really strong, but are you gonna spend up 217 for Spanx? I don't know. I think with Mouse, it's just you pick one or two players and you hope for the best because they kind of all take turns in popping off each event. Brolin did look better in the finals, and he was probably the highest impact player for them. Not finals, I mean in the playoffs. But yeah, 195 is just too much for him. Paravision, there is some good value here. For example, I think someone like Sway is really good value at 199. He's been given confidence and freedom to perform to his best by James, and we have seen that in his rating. He has put up, I believe, a 1.12 rating over the last month against top 30 opposition. I think Noda as well is very strong with a 1.07. So those will be my two favorites. I would ignore Belchanok. He's just a support player for them. And James and Chell are a little bit too expensive for my liking. FaZe Clan, I just don't expect them to make playoffs. I just don't think so. I think the team will definitely have to make some roster changes for them to start competing again and not let Kerrigan, Frozen, and Twist down because I think they're ready to compete, especially Frozen and Twist, who have been really good for them and carrying them basically across many matches. If you want to pick into FaZe, pick into Twist. Don't look into Brokey or Jacob. They're just sub 1 rating players at this point. Same thing for Navi. Have not been impressed by them. There's still a lot of work to do. I think they kind of got ruined by the Rostermania, off-season Rostermania that didn't occur because I feel like they were going to make changes, but because there was no movement in the market, then they weren't inclined to make any changes for now. I think Bit's probably their best player. And then after that, you just pick randomly, close your eyes, and pick between Makase, Wonderful, and Imek. Because again, same thing as Mouse, they will all pop off depending on the matchup. Alexi B, again, it's a no-go. G2, there's some good value here. For example, Matty S or Matisse, as someone like to call him. He's been Heavy Gods 1A, 1B type player. And at 203, he's very underpriced for his current output. So I think he's put up a 1.15 over the last month, which is very strong. I don't mind Heavy God, but again, rather go Matty S. And I think Hunter's good value, 184. He's an IGL that can frag as well. Mouse and Bias are not bad. They had very weak playoffs, but under 200,000, why not? Why not? And they could farm some group stage as well. Mongols, I would say don't pick into them, especially at those prices. They're a little bit too high for my liking. The only one I would take a chance on is Cobra Serra in the hopes that he picks up some of Sensu's ratings, but it just hasn't started off that great for them. I think it's a wait and see for Mongols. Aurora, however, are a team that's very consistent, as in they consistently get to the playoffs and then bomb out there. But because we are on group stage, they could do well here. There is some good value here. For example, Centaurus and Wicadia. Wicadia is good value. He's put up a 1.09 rating over the last month against top 30 opposition, and Centaurus has done 1.14 over the same period against the same opposition. So these two are probably my favorite value for money players. Skip on Soulfly for now. He's been getting all the bad roles, or the roles that he wouldn't feel comfortable in. And I think Woxic 190 is kind of low-key good option. I think 190 is, he's very hot and cold. He has very extreme, so he could put up a 1.80 rating one map and then put up a 0.4 rating the next. But at 190, you can take the chance there, especially for a team like Aurora that can qualify. Major's fine if you want a cheap player, but otherwise, take a look at Centaurus, Woxic, and Wicadia. As for Astralis, again, been impressed by them. Been impressed by their new Opper and then Ryu. But I think if I had to pick anyone, I would pick Javi at 188. He's put up a 1.15 rating over the last month, and he's been the highest rated for the team. Stairs not bad either at 182 with up 1.08. So those two would be my favorites from Astralis. You can always punt it to the Opera or the new Rifler, but I think these two are my two favorites for now. 3D Max, don't pick into them. If you are going to pick into them, Body, Maka, and Lucky for you. And then for Food, again, another team that could be good value. They still are good value because they're just so cheap, and their rating has been so high, even against these tough opponents. Kraveni has been probably will be the best value for money player in this event at 182. He has put up a 1.13 over the last month, which is insane, the highest in Foot. Alongside him, I think Longs and Demon are good options. Longs has put up a 1.02, not great, but at 187 you can't complain. And then Demon has put up a 1.07 over the last month. So yeah, these three were my favorites: Demon, Longs, and Kraveni. Don't pick Symmetry. Just not that great. And then this other player right here, it's not bad. If you can't afford Demon, but yeah, definitely rather look into these three first. And then for bait, don't pick into them. New Opera, young Opera, that we don't know much about. I just don't feel that great with this team. Pain, again, don't pick into them. If you have to, pick Bigusera, but otherwise skip on them for this event. And then finally, Heroic, no Opera. They're having Youngstar be the Opera for now because Akarin has some visa issues or something along those lines. But yeah, don't pick into Heroic. So with all that in mind, here's gonna be my team for this event, and I decided to go with a 2-2-1 setup. So I'm gonna double up on Falcons. I think they have a great shot. I'm going 3-0. At worst, I could see them being a 3-1 team. I think Kyosuke could be having a life event this event. I think he started the year so strong. He's getting into positions that he feels the most comfortable with, and now that he has experience with the team, this could be the matchup for them. And I do like their opening matchup against 3D Max as well. Tessis, hopefully he performs better, and he has a good role as well with support, so that's why I picked into him. Yeah, 3D Max easy game, and he did start off the year really strong, and then fell off. Javi from Astralis is my one single player. He's not bad. And I think Astralis have a good chance of qualifying. They might not qualify, but I think Javi will for sure lead the pack rating wise. Navi is actually a good upset potential game because I haven't been impressed with Navi at all. And Astralis has beat Navi a couple times in a row now, so Javi at that price I could not say no to. And then finally double up on Aurora, another team that's likely to be in the playoffs. Probably like 3-1 or 3-2, but for sure we'll there. I think Santaris will carry like he always does. So I think he's great value there. And then Woxig at 190, I don't mind him. He's hot and cold, but he can have some very high output whenever he is on. It's not often, but he could do it. But yeah, this will be my team. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments down below. Again, the link will be to join the leaderboard down there as well. And yeah, good luck, have fun, and see you for the next one.